others.
Good evening. This is Thursday, September 18th, 47 days until the 2008 presidential election. The presidential candidate said if he were in office now, he would respond to the financial crisis by firing the chairman of the SEC, evidently not knowing the president cannot fire the chairman of the SEC. The vice presidential candidate responded by apparently demoting him, referring to an administration in which her name comes first. Our fifth story in the countdown. Senator McCain and Governor Palin. Governor Palin and Senator McCain pretty much squeezed Senator Obama out of the headlines today, and with headlines like these, one would assume Obama's pretty happy with that.
That's exactly what we're going to do in a Palin and McCain administration.
Just when you wonder if you're being paranoid for thinking Palin might be overshadowing McCain, she describes a Palin and McCain administration. That was also at Cedar Rapids, Iowa, though she thought she was in Grand Rapids and said so. If you want to write an email, send it to them. Maybe you could brief Senator McCain on constitutional law while you're at it.
The chairman of the SEC serves at the appointment of the president and, in my view, has betrayed the public trust. If I were president today, I would fire him.
As our chief judicial correspondent, Pete Williams, explained to us tonight, the president appoints the members of independent agency commissions like the FCC and the SEC. Then they are confirmed. But once he has appointed them to those commissions, he cannot simply fire them outright. That is what the Supreme Court said in 1935, having ruled that President Roosevelt could not dump a conservative member of the Federal Trade Commission. Members of a commission can always be fired for cause, like gross neglect or malfeasance, but not just because the president disagrees with the way they vote or run their agencies. The SEC chairman in question, Chris Cox, answering in a statement that his agency has responded to the crisis, quote, with utmost dedication and professionalism. Also, that if a President McCain thinks he's going to get a chance to fire him, he's made another boneheaded mistake. Chairman Cox says he is a lame duck. Quote, I have long made clear my intention to leave the SEC after the end of this administration. White House Press Secretary Dana Perino saying today that the chairman has the president's confidence. President Bush, remember him? Appearing like Brigadoon out of nowhere for the first time in forever in the middle of this crisis, telling the nation this morning that he's got the whole situation under control. Tonight, reports of a government plan to create an entity that would buy up all those troubled mortgages, then sell them off later, possibly much later, similar to what was done in the wake of the savings and loan collapse, Keating 20 years ago. Treasury Secretary Paulson and Fed Chairman Bernanke meeting with congressional leaders on Capitol Hill tonight. Senator McCain finally issuing his first policy specifics on how he would get the crisis under control, an apparent flip-flop therein. On Tuesday, the senator having decried the alphabet soup of regulatory agencies that oversee Wall Street. This afternoon, Senator McCain wanting to add 3 more letters to the pot. And 2 of those letters are MF.
I'm calling for the creation of the Mortgage and Financial Institutions Trust, the MFI. The priorities of this trust will be to work with the private sector and regulators to identify institutions that are weak and take remedies to strengthen them before they become insolvent.
He was against the alphabet soup of regulatory agencies before he was for it. He had to pick those 2 letters. A week so bad for the Republican candidate that even the White House is starting to look good in comparison.
His first reaction to this crisis on Monday was to stand up and repeat the line that he said over and over again throughout this campaign. We counted it. He said it 16 times, and I quote, "The fundamentals of the economy are strong." Now, this comment was so out of touch that even George Bush's White House couldn't agree with it when they were asked about it. They had to distance themselves from John McCain.
Time now to call in our own Howard Fineman, senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
The McCain campaign has, since those remarks came out, said he meant to say he would have asked the SEC chairman, who's going to resign anyway, to resign. How many he meant to says do you get before people just stop listening?
Oh, I think they'll keep listening for more he meant to says. I think they'll keep listening. I think the people in this country are paying very close attention to this election, judging by all the people who are registering in unprecedented numbers around the country. People are paying attention, and McCain has to be careful. He was just flat out wrong about that. that independent commissioners don't serve at the pleasure of the president. That's sort of what he meant to say, but it was wrong. The other thing is that of all the villains that people want to string up around here, Chris Cox, I don't think is generally considered to be one of them. He's thought, given the laws that he has to administer, to have done a fairly good job. So it was odd on several levels. And McCain's all over the lot. While I think Obama is wisely going to ground in Florida tomorrow, gathering all his advisors around him, he has yet, Obama, to commit to that idea you're talking that you mentioned tonight that NBC reported about sort of reviving the Resolution Trust Corporation. They may decide to do that, the Obama campaign, but Obama wants to, measure twice and cut once if he's going to do it.
Speaking of Obama and advisors, there's another aspect of the McCain plan today. McCain has a new ad out claiming Obama has an economic advisor named Frank Raines, and that under Frank Raines' leadership, Fannie Mae committed extensive fraud, and it collapsed, and Frank Raines made millions. The problem being that the Obama campaign has said tonight, Frank Raines has never advised Senator Obama about anything ever. That's the quote. Then Frank Raines said, I am not an advisor to Barack Obama, nor have I provided his campaign with advice on housing or economic matters. What on earth happened there?
Well, what happened is not much. Based on what I've been told, Frank Raines did pay a visit to Barack Obama's Senate office I'm not sure exactly when, but really before the campaign geared up big time, is my understanding, and he didn't meet with Obama. Frankly, and Frank Raines is kind of a radioactive character around here because he was heavily criticized by independent investigators who looked at what happened at Fannie Mae. And, he's not the Prince of Fannie Mae that you want to necessarily be in a photo op with. So Obama's a pretty shrewd politician. I think Raines has probably given some contributions, both to the Senate race and maybe to the presidential one, but he's not counted in the inner circle. This came about because of a Washington Post story. What the Obama people are telling me is that it was Raines himself who at the time identified him that way. Now he's got this statement out tonight. But I know the campaign well enough to know that Raines has never been in the inner circle of the Obama campaign.
Governor Palin in Cedar Rapids, a Palin and McCain administration. A slip, an ego trip? Are they trying to tell the senator something? What was that?
Well, maybe they're following in tradition. I mean, there are a lot of people think it's, at least in the first term, it was a Cheney-Bush administration. So why not? And I think we've learned about Sarah Palin that she doesn't hide her light under a bushel. I mean, she's aggressive politically. She took on the Republican establishment in Alaska both because she was a maverick and because she wanted to be the star of the show. It's the way she operates politically, and she's doing the same on the campaign trail. By the way, if John McCain gets elected president and he thinks he's going to go shunt Sarah Palin off in a corner somewhere or send her back to Alaska, he's got another thing coming. She will organize the whole conservative network to make sure she has a hand in, if not the hand on the tiller, if there is a McCain-Palin or Palin-McCain administration.
And as to the other Palin, there's breaking news tonight that Todd Palin, the husband, has announced he is refusing to testify under the subpoena he has been issued in Troopergate in Alaska. He gets to ignore the law. Why? And is this more of the next Bush administration before the current Bush administration is even over?
Well, I don't know about that, but it's a bold move, especially since the legislative move to subpoena him or bring him in to testify was 3-2, including one Republican. I won't use any hunting language here, but it was the moose guy, a Republican, who said, let's bring Todd Palin in and have him talk to us. And don't forget, originally, Palin's husband and wife were all about cooperating with the investigation. They were going to lay everything on the table, no problem, nothing to hide. Now they're acting exactly the opposite way. And I agree with your analysis of the other night. The more they keep doing this, the more people are going to think that they're actually trying to hide something.
Yeah, it just seems to violate some cardinal tenet here. It was not a big deal, and they've made it a bigger one.
Nope.
Howard Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC. As always, Howard, great thanks.